Chocolate lovers, this pie is for you. Here's how to make the creamiest, dreamiest French silk pie. In recent years, French silk pie has become a Thanksgiving family tradition. However, this past year we ended up staying local instead of heading up north for our usual family gathering, which meant no French silk pie for us. And as much as my husband and I enjoy this pie, there's no way that we could or should eat an entire one by ourselves. So fortunately, we're having some friends over this weekend, which is the perfect excuse to whip one up. So today, we're going to be making French silk pie with a graham cracker crust. Let's get into it. Now first things first, we need to put together our graham cracker crust. To do this, add 12 graham crackers to a food processor and pulse until you get fine crumbs. Don't worry if you don't have a food processor, a plastic bag and a rolling pin will also get the job done. Then add the crumbs along with a 1/4 cup of sugar and about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to a bowl. Mix to combine and then pour in 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter. Mix again until the graham cracker crumbs are well coated and resemble wet sand, then transfer to a 10-inch pie pan. Press the graham cracker evenly into the bottom and sides of the pan to make a compact crust. I recommend using a fork to start and then finishing with your fingers so you get a nice even layer. Then pop this into the fridge to chill while you get started on your fillings. Now onto the chocolate filling. This is made up of a few different components, the first of which is whipped cream. So whip up 1 cup of heavy cream to stiff peaks and then set it aside in the fridge. The next component is arguably the most important, i.e. the chocolate. So chop up 2 4-ounce bars of high quality semi-sweet or bittersweet chocolate. I personally am a fan of bittersweet chocolate and went with these 60% Ghirardelli bars. Transfer to a microwave safe bowl, microwave until melted, and again set aside. Now that we have our whipped cream and chocolate, it's time to move on to our eggs. Add 4 eggs to a double boiler and slowly whisk in 1 cup of sugar. Heat the mixture until it reaches 160 degrees, whisking constantly to make sure that your eggs don't curdle. They should about double in volume and be pale yellow in color. Very carefully remove from the heat and then let cool for about 10 minutes. Then stir in the melted chocolate, resisting the urge to dip a finger in for just a little taste, and then let cool for another 10 minutes. While the chocolate mixture cools, move on to the final component, the butter. To a stand mixer, add 3/4 cups of room temperature unsalted butter and beat until slightly whipped about 2 minutes. Then add 1½ teaspoons vanilla, a pinch of salt, and a dash of espresso powder if you have some laying around. Mix again and then pour in the chocolate mixture, increasing the speed to medium and beating for about 3 minutes. The filling will still be pretty loose at this point and should resemble cake batter. Make sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl as necessary and then fold in the now chilled whipped cream until well combined. Adding whipped cream is what gives a silk pie its silky, mousse-like texture and sets it apart from more standard chocolate pie, which will often be more similar to chocolate pudding. The chocolate filling should now be light and airy, which means it's time to build our pie. Now, building a French silk pie is a very simple endeavor. Just pour the chocolate filling into the graham cracker crust, spread it into an even layer, and then let it set in the fridge for at least 4 hours, preferably overnight. Then when you're about ready to serve, whip up a cup of whipped cream with a little powdered sugar and a splash of vanilla, and spread it over the top of the chocolate filling. The chocolate should be pretty set at this point, but I'd still recommend the dollop and spread method to make sure that the layers don't accidentally mix. Then as a finishing touch, top with chocolate curls. The easiest way to do this is to grab a chocolate bar and a vegetable peeler and start scraping. This is technically optional, but I think it looks nice and you can't go wrong with more chocolate. And with that, my friends, you have your very own homemade French silk pie. Silky smooth in texture, rich in chocolate flavor, and accented by buttery graham cracker and pillowy whipped cream. It's incredibly hard not to go back for a second slice of this pie. The thing that really makes a French silk pie different than just a chocolate pie, in my opinion, is really the texture, which I think does come from the amount of extra butter that's added, so do with that as you will. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my pie. Let me know if you make this.